Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of the Maconi Setup Shop A-Fix Tutorials. This week we are back to the Iowa Speedway on the new and latest update, so strap in and let's get to it. As always, this run, we'll talk about shifting first. So this run was done in 5th gear the entire time. With the difference in grip for the racetrack, it's important to know that we are significantly slower than the last time that we were here, which is a good thing in my opinion. They have removed a lot of the grip level from the racetrack, so it's very important to be smooth with your accelerator. You can't be rushing into it. It's all about taking care of those rear tires. Okay, the car hasn't changed, the tire hasn't changed, but the grip level of the racetrack has changed. So if you're trying to really beat up the car and you're shifting into 4th, which I should say you can shift into 4th, but you really spin the tires. Okay, so if you need to, like if it's the end of the race and it's a shootout, okay, 4th gear you could do it, but early in the race or when you're trying to go deep into a long run, it's best to avoid that and stay in 5th gear because you help take care of the rear tires more. The line, from watching the ECR race that happened, a lot of guys were trying to run the bottom around both ends of the racetrack because it saved tire. The top in 3 and 4 is still really fast. You get that run, it makes it really hard for people to pass on the bottom. I still like the big wide arc into turn 1. I'll try to show it by next time when we come around, but we'll see it in the in-car and I'll touch on it then. To get into turn 1, it's just a little spot that I try to run over to set up my arc. If I'm under it, we'll see right here. If I'm under this transition of the seam, it'll be easier to see in the in-car. If I'm under it, I know I'm entering too shallow, so I try to run it over. That way I know that I'm getting a nice arc and I'm going to carry more corner speed. Okay, 3 and 4 for me is I'm just trying to back the corner up to where I feel like I can hit the bottom. You really want to wrap that bottom through 3 and 4 and be smooth on the gas. The top in 3 and 4, again, I like to run it's like a lane. You'll see as we cross over, it's right here, right above that dotted line. Okay, that's to me where the most speed is, and the grip level is good enough to where you're not going to melt your tires. You can go up to the wall, it's just looser. Okay, there's speed up there, but if you're running that lane that we're talking about, it's the best of both worlds. Nobody's going to get a run on you and get to your outside if they go up to the wall. So that's the best place to be, right here. Okay, you just wrap this seam. Don't want to cross over it because you'll get a little loose and de-wedge the car, but if you can just wrap that dotted line, it just pulls you around the racetrack. Okay. Turn 1 again, if somebody's trying to pass you and you run the top in 3 and 4, as long as you get a decent run, you're going to pull them down the front straightaway. But if somebody does show the nose going into 1, having the right sides on the seam, like you don't want to be too far up because then you get into the bumps. The bumps in turn 1 about halfway up, especially in the top, are pretty rough. Okay, so I always try to preach, like, give some room. You don't want to make any unnecessary contact, but it's really hard to do in turn 1 because the higher you go, the more the car bounces and the less control you have. Okay, so we'll go back to the in-car, and real quick I'll try to touch on this seam that we're looking at. Right here you can see that transition. Again, I'm more or less just trying to follow it and run it over. That's the only reference point that I really have around this racetrack. Again, if I'm under it, I feel like I'm too shallow getting into the corner, but if I can run that over, I know that I'm getting a good arc. Okay, so that's a really good reference point. Try to run it over every single time. Again, I'm not necessarily running it over, but like the way that it looks from the cockpit, like as long as my left front is going over it, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily saying you want the left front to run it over, okay, because I'm still above it. I just want that reference point. As long as I'm entering the corner around that seam, I know I'm getting a good arc. Again, nice and smooth on the throttle, trying to keep the tire spin to a minimum. And we'll go quiet for the silent lap. Hey guys, one thing that you'll notice in comparison to the last Iowa video is the amount of off throttle time. Again, with the new update, they've taken away a significant amount of grip from the oval tracks. Okay, so you're going to have more off throttle time, and it's really going to preach patience getting back on the gas. Okay, my lap 9 you saw, I got into the gas too hard and I got loose. Okay, if you find that you're getting loose, you need to use less throttle. Okay, if you're trying to push it and keep up with somebody and you're getting loose, you're not doing yourself any favors. You got to find that throttle point to where you're still getting a decent run off the corner, but you're not melting your right rear. And after a couple laps, when that right rear cools down, you'll be able to use a little more throttle to get back into it. But it's really important that you take care of your tires. Okay, that'll do it for this week's video. As always, if you find that it was helpful, please consider leaving a like. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or something I may have missed, or something you want clarification on, please leave a comment down below, and I will get to them during the week. As always, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can see these videos every Monday when they're posted to the Maconi YouTube page. All right, guys, best of luck this week, and we'll see you on the track.